Tim, and welcome back to Lussmanns. Nice to see you this morning. We're going to do a great seasonal dish today, which is on our menu. It's Seabass or wild Seabass in a bag. You can find further details about the measurements and all the ingredients we're using today at our website, lussmanns.com. Now, Seabass. You can get Seabass pretty much, not all year round, but pretty much when it's in season from your fishmonger. Two types of Seabass, farm or wild. Wild is generally better, and most importantly, it keeps the pound local. When you ask your fishmonger for the Seabass, he can either give you a whole fish like this, nice and clean, fresh, not slimy as the skin goes, and you don't want the eyes to be very, very clear. What I would suggest is you ask him to fillet it for you. I take the two fillets off the bone, pin bone it, take the large bones out, and take the scales off the fish. And then you're left really with your perfect, the perfect two fillets ready for you. Now, in order we save some time, I've got Nick who's available to come and say good morning and fillet the fish for us. So if Nick's here, morning Nick, morning. I'll give this to Nick and he'll go and organise the fish. Thank you Nick, and I'll go and wash my hands. Right Tim, ingredients, so camera over here please. Fresh parsley, garlic, unwaxed lemons, some great chestnut mushrooms which are in season, some shallots, thyme, liquor to steam the fish in, because after all we are steaming the fish, we're locking in all those flavours, extra virgin olive oil and some white wine. Old white wine is absolutely fine. And Nick's just about to finish the fish, so it's the exact time for us to start putting the rest of the dish together. We've got all our ingredients here. Now we've assembled them here in terms of a ready product. I need a nice hard base pan. Now rather than us cook it all, which will take about 5 minutes at home, what we need is some fresh butter. Again, the ingredients are on the website. A spoon of that in there. When the butter starts to caramelise, we want to throw the shallots in there. We want the shallots to start to become more translucent, softer, a little bit like making a risotto. At that point, we add a bit of olive oil in order that we stop the butter burning. We throw the mushrooms in, and we allow the mushrooms then to saute off slowly. We're almost there really. We then add the most important ingredient, which is the fresh parsley. We chuck the parsley in with a bit of salt and pepper, and we cook this off for about 3 or 4 minutes on a low heat. You start off on a high heat in order to get those shallots caramelised, and then you reduce to a small heat. After 5 minutes, we're ready. Right, we're now down to pretty much the final part of the cooking process. We've caramelised our mushrooms, we've swept down our shallots, we've added the parsley and all the thyme, olive oil and the butter, so we're ready to place this onto the parchment paper. Thank you Nick. The Seabass has been filleted, or we've got your guys to do it, and what we need is a spoon or a large spoon, and you just feather out the mushroom mix into the middle of the parchment paper, and the paper needs to be a lot bigger and folded in half than that of the size of the fish. Right, so mushrooms ready, Seabass on top, skin side down, so it helps lock in the flavours. Very nice and neat. And on top we add the final bits and pieces of the fresh parsley, some slices of lemon, which will then pass through the fish into the lemon, some seasoning, lots of pepper, a little bit of salt, and a very, very nice, heavy amount of extra virgin olive oil, and a little bit of white wine. And the beauty of this dish is that you can leave it in the fridge for a couple of days and make it when you've got some time. And before we forget, we've got some fresh garlic which has been poached in some milk to take some of the acidity away, or roasted slowly in the oven, because you don't want it to be absolutely raw. So these have been cooked. Stick those underneath the fish, and now we start to put the parchment paper together. The actual parchment paper needs to actually be totally open as opposed to double folded as I have done, like that. Alright, so I move it across so you can see it, so it's nice and large, parchment paper on top, and you leave as much space as possible inside the fish to have lots of air for the flavours to be locked in, enough space for it to steam, and for the fish not to dry out. Right, okay. It's now being wrapped up 3 times either side. If you want, you can put a closed peg on the edge to hold it nicely together, but it should be fine in the oven. Onto a steel plate, onto a frying pan is fine. Into the oven for 20 minutes for about 180 degrees, and that's all we need to do. We've had 20 minutes in the oven. Fish should be ready. Right. Okay. Here's the fish. Place it onto a nice big plate, now ready, and Nick should have some seasonal vegetables ready for us. A glass there for a little bit of white wine. We open it up. You use a knife, a pair of scissors. Best thing really is to peel it open, and hopefully you'll get an idea of what it looks like for the video. And there we are. And you've got all those wonderful aromas, some lovely white wine, the olive oil, everything steamed in the fish, and we've got here, I think, a terrific lunch or dinner dish at home, any night of the week, with a drop of white wine. And you got a fork, Nick?
Yeah.
And even though it's 7:05 in the morning, I'll wish you a good morning and try a little bit of this fish. So, bon appetit. Okay, put it back. You might need it.
Jesus. Oh yeah, we've got to come in.